Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. One on one, everything is good and fine. I'm very sorry for the inconveniences. So we'll just go back to our question. You were explaining the meaning, the very big meaning behind Èzili Dantò, and you talked about the ceremonial, spiritual elevation of the voodoo, and you talked about how the spirit get connected. So we actually kind of lost your connection on that. Could you just go back to it for us to be on the same frequency with you?
No problem. Èzili
Thank
Dantò is
you.
the warrior goddess. She is the divine energy that quickened the warriors at Boakaima, the Vodun ceremony that began the Haitian Revolution. And we started the Free Haiti Movement in 2004. I've always been called Èzili. That, but it just had a different meaning when we started the Free Haiti Movement. A lot of the things that Desalin, who we are celebrating at the Free Haiti Movement all of this month, all the way till the end of October. He is our founding father. He is the name that horrifies tyrants, enslavers, and despots, because he did what no one else in world history, recorded history that we know has ever done. He actually had a revolution, not a switching of elites, not like the French Revolution and the American Revolution. This was the first time in world history where the enslaved beat their enslavers, did what Spartacus couldn't do, what the Nazarene never even tried to do, what the Abrahamic religions never thought to do. He said no. And slavery is not human. We will live free or die. And this was after 300 years of the European tribes bringing Africans as slaves to enslave them, to provide them with riches. And so we rise. We are the Haiti resistance. And today Haiti is under occupation directly. But the Haitian Revolution did something that allowed what we have today, right? Because if it wasn't for the Haitian Revolution, we could still have chattel slavery and direct colonialism. Desalin rose up after Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint Louverture is the one most of the white liberals write about, because the France actually kidnapped him and assassinated him and that was our first coup d'etat. But they assassinated Toussaint Louverture in Haiti, and at that time, his lieutenant general Jean-Jacques Desalin rose. Toussaint Louverture essentially said, "The roots are deep. You can take me out of Haiti, but there will rise more." And so we rise. We are the Free Haiti Movement. We rise to get rid of the current enslavement of Haiti that is done through these phantoms of liberty, fake elections, fake humanitarian aid, weaponized charity, the European playing hero and villain at the same time. We rise and we tell Africans, the worldwide, that the current political systems that they have is not what Jean-Jacques Desalin fought for. It's not what the women of the Haitian Revolution fought for. And that we will stand with our ancestors and be the ancestors and fight the same way they did until liberty comes for all. And Èzili Dantò is the name of all Black women who fight for their children, not for their children not to be just used for labor, for profit, not to be the value of the universe, and for the corporatocracy of a small amount of oligarchs to control 7.5 billion people on the planet. And so that's what we fight against, and that's what we stand against. And we have various programs where we do that through.
Queen, we see you really in this kind of a movement and this spirit and this power. Are you really confident that Africans are getting up to it? The systems are understanding. Do you think we need more energy to put on this fight?
Mental colonization is real.
Yes.
80% of Africans or more are not ready for revolution. So we speak to the 20% that might be ready. And at the end of the day, we know that in every revolution, it is the brave that will change the world, not the masses. A lot of our masses are sick. A lot of our masses are being destroyed through so many different, we call it Nojoki. Maybe I will share, since we only have a few, I will share with you our basic teachings.
Yes.
During the Haitian Revolution, our ancestors left us a template for beating white domination and the profit over people values of their so-called civilization. And here it is. And I hope all Africans are listening. And I only speak to that 5 to 20% who are ready, who will give everything up for liberty. That means they're not looking for European approval, prestige, job, materiality, none of it. I'm sure most of you have never heard of me. Yes, I've been here for decades upon decades. I'm not looking for the Europeans' approval. As a matter of fact, once he starts approving you, that's when you know you're doing something wrong.
Correct.
All right. The Bwakaima call that began the Haitian Revolution and the template that we stand on at Free Haiti was said in Queen Nzenga's language of King Congo. E Mbamba, Kanga, Mandele, Kanga, Bafyoti, Kanga, Najoki, Kanga, Yo. And that means if we don't kill them, they're going to kill us. What that means is Kanga Mandele, which means we have to stop the stranger. There was a time in the universe when Africans recognized each other as family. A stranger came in our midst. We have to stop that stranger, and that stranger essentially was the colonists to the warriors at Bwakaima. Mandele, that's the King Congo name for Mandele. We have to stop Mandele. We have to stop his Black collaborators. I invite all of you. I did a presentation just on Jean-Jacques Desalin 262nd birthday, which was September 20th, 2020. You can go to my website and watch it all. But Mandele, white colonists, Bafyoti is an African name. It means a collaborator, those who collaborate. And then you have Najoki. Najoki means his evil forces. And his evil forces are exactly the same as they were when my ancestors took up arms, women, children, and men, to beat 4 European powers, the French, the Spanish, the English, in combat, and get rid of this idea of biological fatalism, this idea of inferiority and being 3/5 human and just property. And so Najoki and his evil forces are his education, his economic system, his law system, his all human activity is meant for our domination. He uses sex, labor, entertainment, media, human rights organizations. All of these are his Najoki. And once you understand that, that's just 3 things that they said at Bwakaima. And it means everything, and it's very easy for people to understand. Kanga Mandele, Kanga Bafyoti, Kanga Najoki. That is our only job. And if you want a job at the UN, if you want to go ahead and be 5 PhDs and bring in, Desalin said he wanted a Black-ruled independent nation. Toussaint Louverture, the general before him, was killed for this. Just like Malcolm and Mount Martin were killed. No matter what no matter how an African warrior fights, if they fight for integration into the system or if they fight for separate values in a separate system in a separate civilization, the European will kill you. Let's make that very clear. So this Toussaint Louverture, the first general, he was fighting to make Haiti without slavery, but a black ruled French colony. He wanted to be the first of the blacks to Napoleon's first of the whites. Jean-Jacques Desalin, when he came on, after they kidnapped Toussaint, tortured him and killed him in the Jura Mountains in France. They also, we have to remember today, Toussaint Louverture's wife, they tortured the lady. They took her and her children, France. And so when they came back in 2004 and became something called the core group in Haiti today, our enemies are the core group. They are a core group of Western nations that have got together as one fist to annihilate Haiti. The same thing they want in everywhere. They just want your resources, depopulate you, use you for sex and labor. That's it. But Africans who are educated in their school system actually think these beasts are human. What we say is Jean-Jacques Desalin stood for Black ruled independent nation. And today, even though they killed Toussaint Louverture, it is Toussaint Louverture's template of neocolonialism that reigns in the African Union and these 53 nations at various levels. Some are better than others, but mostly they are copying and pasting European Najoki and bringing it to the African who has a totally different value system of community, of people over profit, of connecting to spirit, and of having that journey of inner spirit, which is why we're here. That is not of consequence to the European. He is an external beast who is about external power. And so we are two different types of people. And Jean-Jacques Desalin and the men and women and children of the Haitian Revolution said no to bourgeois democracy. And we teach at the FreeHaiti Movement, bourgeois democracy is what the European feels very, very comfortable in. And most of the educated Africans feel very comfortable in. It is when you live in Wakanda. It is when you live within gates and then outside your gates. Is when you live within the gates of luxury, ultimate beauty, ultimate freedom, ultimate self-expression, and then right next to you, there is poverty, sex, slavery, all sorts of things which normally is suffered by my children all over the planet. And so we represent Dantò. We are calling on all African women to not give their children the way the Abrahamic religions took our child and made him God and essentially took out the female and the female power. So if I teach anything today, it would be the Bwakaima call. If I teach anything today, if I live for anything today, it is that we stand for people over profit. Jean-Jacques Desalin, that's what he stood for.
Absolutely. It cannot be taught more or less than what you're just saying, Queen. Until we make the systems an illusion and go back to the people that we are, to nature, to family, to a village setup. We are just playing. It's the same thing that you're saying, and that's what we're saying here. If you look at that, from politicians to the billionaires that we say we have, to even the stars, in what kind of format that they are. And like you say, living Wakanda is like living a surrounded house. So if you look at this structure in Africa, it's the same kind of illusion. And you begin to ask yourself, how can I be comfortable living in a fenced house, and I'm successful. I eat on a golden spoon, and the whole neighborhood is in, I mean, it's in the kind of poverty that you even staying in that complex, you cannot feel comfortable.
Exactly. But they tell you, and they use a lot of our, like I said, Najoki, the Black collaborators, with all these PhDs to tell you that the greatest political system on the planet is the United Nations, where 5 Eurasian nations have veto power over 192 nations. And they tell you that's democracy. Let me declare, since many of you have never heard us about the Free Haiti movement, we are the people. When the UN is destroyed, when the European Union, the UN, Organization of American States, and the Vatican, these are the 4 core group of organizations they use to make as if there is some sort of plurality with respect to the fake aid, fake elections, fake democracy they bring into Haiti, which is essentially dictatorship of the 1% or less than 1%, but these depraved humans that use us for, that use Haiti in order to feed the swamps in their own nations, essentially, right? Because they can use the DEA to bring drugs into America and have my children in Baltimore, all the black men drop guns, drop drugs on them. And they're doing that in Africa in the same way. And then they let them kill each other. And then they stand back and say, oh, look at those black people and what they're doing. Yes, but we don't own the customs that bring in the drugs to Baltimore. But they feed black males and females into their mass incarceration processes. And remember, the US Constitution still makes slavery legal through the 13th Amendment. And yet I hear black people talking about this is the greatest constitution that ever lived, that ever was written. I tell you, the greatest constitution that was ever written was written by Jean-Jacques Desalin. It's the 1805 constitution. And he actually defined what manhood was. Imagine a constitution doing that. Because most European constitutions that are copied and pasted into the African Union is about property rights. Property rights is their justice. But Jean-Jacques Desalin said, a good man, a good black man is a good father, a good husband, a good provider, a good soldier, above all, a good soldier. What do we have today? No place is that written for anybody except probably in our community interactions. But that's who we are. And that's really what we have to do. We have to engraft who we are in systems that can be replicated so that our youngs don't have to constantly restart. So I don't want to keep speaking unless you have something specific you want to say. Let me know. I don't know what kind of time we got.
No. We have all the time for you. And actually, this is what we want to hear. Nobody's going to ask anything. Just go ahead and teach us, Queen. We're listening.
Okay. So what is so important about Jean-Jacques Desalin? He is the greatest hero to ever lived. And most revolutionaries, Black revolutionaries, recognize that. You know, he influenced, for instance, many revolution throughout the world. And this is what the European, the Eurasian wants you never to know, that we understand that we are original to planet Earth. We understand in the Americas that Blacks were in the Americas. And part of my work, I talk about the Blacks in Haiti who were there before the Chinese came. You see, because what's happening in Africa today has happened before. We are a people who can't honestly understand how a sentient being could put profit before another sentient being. And we better get that together because it's been thousands and thousands of years and we still don't understand it. Mm-hmm. There is a group of people that will put profit over you and only use you. And the Chinese were in the Americas before Columbus. and there was a war. We have to understand all of this. Otherwise, we can think that they have come to Africa to save us. Let's understand that there are certain mindsets, and that those mindsets are not necessarily African. And let's understand that the Free Haiti movement, what I lead, is to give life to what my ancestors are, what they gave, and what they want of this earth. We are the parents of this earth. We are the people of the sun. I don't know where 6,000 years ago this Chichayuri, as Credo Amutuar, the shaman of South Africa, calls the stranger, Chichayuri, or the Mandele, as Queen Nzenga and the folks called this psychopath that would put his pleasure, his desire for bling and sweet sugar over human beings. But this is where we are. So we understand this is where we are. And for me, at the Free Haiti movement, we look at the institutions and the corporations, because it's not individuals who are giving you, controlling you, and dominating you. The way the European walks into the planet is that he has corporatized himself, so that what he does today continues on after he dies. And until we face this as revolutionaries, we will continue to wash our hands and wipe it on the floor, because we keep not understanding how he multiplies himself with the West Indian Company, with the East Indian Company. He gives you this illusion of nationality. But what is England but Germany? What are the 5 European nations but essentially the same people who are fighting each other and have been fighting each other and now have brought the fight globally? So for us, we look at the template of Toussaint Louverture, which is neocolonialism, because though he was a great general, he could not conceive, as many intellectuals today could not conceive, that we could get our freedom and be free of Mandela. But the reason Jean-Jacques Desalin is the greatest hero to ever live, along with the women who influenced him, his spiritual advisor was Grand Guiton. I go into this and you guys can see that. The woman who taught, the greatest hero who beat 3 European powers, including their greatest general, Napoleon. It was a woman who taught him how to fight when he was a teenager, and her name is Victoria Montu. That's her colonial name, but Desalin call her Tante Toya. So when I saw the Wakanda women fighting in that Black Panther movie, I knew that the Amazons were us a long time ago, before the European came and took all that you have and then regurgitated back to you, whitewashed. So Tantoya, who was fighting in Africa, was a Dahomean warrior. Dahomean women warriors were fierce of that time. And she was captured and brought to Hayti. And she spent her whole life teaching the enslaved in Hayti how to fight back. And her greatest student actually was triumphant. And so these are the stories we need to understand. We need to understand Défilé, another woman warrior who had her own brigade, who beat the French after she brought justice to the European that was nightly raping her. Then she took up arms and went out. And the African understands that death is not permanent. And that's what we understand when we fought that war, that death is not permanent, that the only thing we are here to do is to extend the ancestors' sacred energies and be in trust to the universe, to keep going the warriorship of Black means warriorship. And I keep saying that to everybody, right? before anything else. Every nation, most nations in Africa means black, but the European took it and changed it into something negative, right? But we are the people of the sun. We are the color of carbon, the key atom found in all living matter. My breath, brain, belly, breast, they carry particles of a culture where every vibratory energy comes out of that dark melanin seed that Hayti in Africa owns, which captures light and reproduces itself. That's who we are. And yet we don't know who we are. We are looking for that alabaster lady rising out of the Atlantic Sea with a blindfold to justice in her eye. That's where my children are looking to go. They're not coming to Èzili Dantò. They're looking at the alabaster lady, blind and deaf, rising out of the Atlantic Sea. Desalin, old rip yarn, because when Desalin was fighting, he took the French tricolored flag and he ripped out the white, threw it into the sea, and he said, "We are going to be independent." And he did it. And the only way he did it was going back to spirit. The only way he did it was to understand that you can come to a space where you can move very heavy objects like the Egyptians did. That you can move, that bullets are dust. That was a song that the Haitians, when they were running into the cannons of the Europeans, they kept saying, bullets are dust, bullets are dust. This is the mindset we need in order to save the planet, planet Earth. We are a
Oh, I keep waiting for that voice to come. I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. Oh. Okay, I guess, I don't know. Do you understand the power? Do you understand the spirit? Do you understand what our ancestors want us to know, what they want us to learn? It also would imply that they give us just a little bit of what we can take now and preserve more to come. If we don't succeed to have her here, she's given you everything already that you need to know. Of course, if we still have her, she's going to add more to everything that we've known, and so we know even much better. We are still going to get Queen Èzili Dantò on a one-on-one, just like we're going to get Samia Nkrumah on a one-on-one. We have been advocating for the voices of women and mothers on the continent, and we from the Pan-African Daily TV, all we are doing is bringing out these voices of the queens that have been silenced. I think she's back. Over to you, Queen.
Thank you for having me again. Is there something specific you would like to know?
Everything that you're just telling us is the first time that we're listening and hearing you. Like I was just saying, if we lost you, we're going to get you back on a one-on-one. Because the one last thing, please, even when you continue, tell us how to connect on you. What are your mediums? Give us your homepage, give us your show time, how we can connect back to you. Even if we're still going to get you on another education seminar here or 2 hours just with you, please just drop your contacts first before we lose you.
Okay, very good. So Èzili Dantò, we're on Instagram, Facebook, where it's EziliDantò.com, EZILIDANTO. For those who don't know, I'm a human rights lawyer. I'm a performance poet, and just a woman who wants to see Black children have perfect self-expression, and be able to understand that the world is abundant. And we have come here to be the best that we can be and to replicate the best of what we were before and bring it forth. So you can find me, besides doing the Free Haiti Movement, I run the Haitian Lawyers Leadership Network. We work a lot with going after folks that are in orphanages, committing rape on our children. We have brought many cases against the UN. The UN brought cholera to Haiti, and then they covered it up, and cholera killed probably over 30,000 Haitians and made sick over 3 million Haitians. And today, as you look at COVID, it's interesting, you know, the resistance to the colonialism in Haiti right now, we were saying, let's quarantine those who brought the disease into Haiti, right? We wanted to quarantine the UN soldiers that brought this disease to us. But the white savior liberals today who are running contact tracing didn't want to do that because their intention, Paul Farmer is his name. I say their names, right? He's over in Rwanda. He's everywhere in Africa because these white liberals, these George Soros folks, and as I said, you know, it doesn't matter what they call themselves, Republican or Democrats. They play hero villain, and every 4 years they change seats. At the end of the day, my children all over the planet are dying, are being enslaved, are being used as sex containers for these depraved people. And so we have definitely gone after the UN. And when the UN goes the way of the League of Nations, someone will say Èzili Dantò's name. When freedom for all, not just 5 Eurasian nations, is the norm on this planet, they will say Jean-Jacques Desalin's name. And that's what we that's what we're doing. And that's what we're fighting against. And you know, it's not an easy thing. I've had many assassination attempts, and every time I come to speak to my people, I let them know this may be the last time. So make sure you understand that there are some of us who have given our entire life. Our Desalin said, you know, I have put children, I have put having property and luxury all above. Freedom has been the top thing, right? So if his child was, because the European love to blackmail you through what you love. So if he told his children, you know, if they take you, don't expect me to ransom you out. That's why he said to black males that you're in this system that we're living in, your first duty is to be a soldier and protector. And that's what Ogu is. And we bring in, for instance, this is the sign of Èzili. We have to learn about who we are, what we are, and how long time ago we used to not speak with words before the Tower of Babel, right? We were able to speak with each other and understand each other. And a lot of our like these things represented something. And African culture, in Black culture, color means something. The way you move means something. Everything replicates a movement of the universe. And when you talk to me about our people, most of our people, like I said, are mentally colonized. They're not going to understand a word I'm saying, because they're going to want to be white, and to not understand this is beautiful, right? And the other dominant society, the dominant so-called society, is wanting to be you. They want the soul that you have, but yet they torture you because of your empathy. And so once you understand your weakness, Black people's weakness is their empathy. When they came to Africa, we treated them as guests. When they got to Haiti, we treated them as guests. I think we need to already learn that they have not come to Africa to learn anything from us. They did back in the days of the High Coast, you know, in 332 BC. But then they co-opted it and said everything they learned from the Egyptian is theirs. Now that we understand that there were Egyptians in the Western Hemisphere, what do the Vatican and the Jesuit do? They cart out all of the artifacts that they find that doesn't uplift their mythology. And so we need Africans of we each come into the world with something we can do. I'm a defender, but there are Africans who are natural healers. Vodun is a way of life, and it has different disciplines. So we have herbal cures. We have bad vibe makeovers. You know, the European might have his Kundalini and his Reiki and that's what we do. I can walk into a room and feel the energy of someone and understand that there's something blocking, there's something within you and we used to have the ability to go into a crystal cave in Hayti. Hayti has a lot of caves. It's an old landmass. The name Hayti is both African, it's Fawn, and it is a meridian. And all these words, of course, kind of mean nothing unless you understand Black is original to planet Earth, and we've been here in different forms and different ways and different cultures since the beginning of the planet. So Haiti is 1 billion years old. When the planets were destroyed by these asteroids, and we believe there was some sort of cosmic war going on, because under Haiti, just like under Cuba, there are pyramids. In America, they tell you those pyramids are mounds, and they refuse to excavate them so you could see who we were. They hide the photos and pictures of you and me. And so, but we know it. We're voodooists, right? We speak to spirit, and the ancestors that are in our veins give us the ability to understand what we're seeing on television and what we're seeing in books doesn't represent who and what we are. And so at Free Haiti, we do the non-colonial narrative. We talk about Haiti's riches. We talk about the name of Haiti, meaning sacred highland. We talk about, you know, the Queen of Sheba going through the Mediterranean and the Rock of Gibraltar and coming to this space, these spaces, because we have the artifacts. We say, for instance, land of mountains and riches. What does that mean? That asteroid that landed in Haiti 66 million years ago to break up Pangea and break up and supposedly kill the dinosaurs. There are mountains of it in Haiti. It's called iridium. And the only other place that's as pure, this remain, it's called iridium, is in South Africa. And it's my conjecture that whatever cosmic war was going on, these were the two places that they definitely wanted to hit, because you could see mounds of iridium both places. And in Haiti, they're mountains. And since 1986, the European military have been carting out Haiti's iridium because they want to go and colonize. They're not happy with the colonization of the earth. They want to colonize the space. And iridium is a very hard metal. It comes out of this asteroid that came shooting at us. And is so heat resistant that they use iridium to build their spaceships. And so that's why they have Haiti, the United States, after they came in on the 200th anniversary of Haiti's independence, because they are the most meanest people on the planet. They want you to turn the other cheek, but they have never forgiven Haiti for beating them all over the Caribbean and essentially destroying this concept of white superiority, because these were barefoot people without arms. The only arms the Haitian revolutionaries had was the arms that they confiscated from their murderers. And then they recrafted them to go back. And this is exactly what I say today. They brought you the UN in 2004. The UN has gone to every little village in Haiti, put in a base. They brought us what we need to get rid of them. And I say that to Haitiens because, as I say, you know, I have a T-shirt that says, you know, standing on truth, living without fear. Because the energy I carry is not all about this carnal stuff. It's about understanding that it's really important that we are in trust of this planet. And right now there is a tiny group of non-humans who are destroying the planet. And they would rather, they have built in Haiti the biggest US embassy in the Western Hemisphere. They built that in 2004 when they came in and they told you they're giving you democracy, right? Haiti has less violence than most of the 15 Caribbean nations in the Caribbean, right? But we are the only place that they brought the UN with a shoot to kill a mission. And part of it was so that they can own the island as a military base between Cuba and Venezuela. But most important, they can continue to cart out our resources without ever showing their hands, because their desire is to show all Black nations to be incompetent in terms of ruling and having no resources, and that they have brought to us value. Whenever you see a European, whenever you see a white person, understand they have come to take. Understand that, let them understand that that's your history. There are exceptions to the rule, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and I don't have time to find that needle in a haystack. And this is what Jean-Jacques Desalin said. There were about 100 Polish, German, and other European who fought with the African warriors in Haiti for independence. Desalin let them load his gun, but he had somebody watching them. He let them fight, but he gave them the role of loading their gun. So when Europeans come to me and say, "What can we do for you?" I said, "You can load my gun." What is my gun? This is my gun. You can send my words out to everybody in the world. You can help me with the UN, who has left tens and thousands of raped Haitian women with babies in Haiti and with no support. And we have a petition out here. We've gone to the UN. Of course, they ignore me, because the thing is to make as if we don't exist. Because if they ever gave us media, people would know who and what they are. So we for instance say, if you want to help the Èzili network and you are a European, you can do what Desalin said. You can go ahead and load my gun. And these are my gun. I run the Free Haiti Movement. I do the non-colonial narrative. I talk about the riches in Haiti. I tell Americans, Europeans, French, Canada, German, Spanish, all the members of the core group, that your ambassadors have blood on their hands. And they are running rackets in Haiti that are killing my people, that are doing sex trafficking, organ trafficking, because we have no defense. We are the most defenseless country in the world. And everybody spits on us because of what we did to bring liberty into our application in the Western Hemisphere. The United States, at the time we brought liberty into our application, Black people and Africans were slaves in America and called 3/5 human. Haiti was the only place where a Black male could stand up and give testimony against a white person. Only place where a Black female was a warrior that started this revolution. Only place that said to any ship captain and I have the actual ad. Desalin took an ad in the papers of the European nation, and he said, we will pay $40 a head for every African you're about to enslave in the Americas. They step on this land and they're free. And the Europeans who stood with the Haitian warriors, he called them human, and he made them citizens. And he said, all citizens of Haiti shall be known by the appellation Black, because Black, coming from where his education was, he called his army, for instance, the armies of the Incas. And I'm sure that nobody has taught you who the Incas were. But Desalin called his army the armies of the Incas. And when we won, he said, I have avenged America. And he took the name back, Haiti, because Christopher Columbus had named the entire island Little Spain. So these are all the things. Once you know all these things, and once you know that life is not the most important thing in the world, because life rejuvenates itself. You're not going anywhere. But how you live is the most important thing in the world. If you want to live on your knees, then you're not Jean-Jacques Desalin's descendant. If you want to stand up and said, I will stand up for the innocence of Black children so that they don't have to deal with being raped, forcibly being in hunger, when Africa has all of this land, when Africa has all these resources that are feeding their children. If you can stand for that, then you are Jean-Jacques Desalin's descendant, or ascendant, as I say. So those are the some of those things. So like I said, EziliDantò.com. You can find me on Instagram. You can find us everywhere. And we have a clean water project. Haiti is obviously, the sun is there. And the European, when they brought us cholera, which was killing Haitians, we put together ZiliD, which is clean water, solar power, and green energy for Haiti. And my vision is that all Haitians will have clean water so that they don't drink the feces of the European that they've dropped in Haiti. And they will have solar power. And I urge everyone to get out of the cities, go to the outback where there's land, grow your own food, get away from GMO Monsanto's food. A lot of the diaspora Haitians are dying earlier than their grandparents because of how they have adopted the European lifestyle of cancer and food that are not organic. So we are being killed in many ways. And I always say, take the opportunity to say, Africa, they only want to depopulate you and take over your lands. That's all they want. And the Africans that they bring to these nations are there to be the Bafioti, the in-between. And Haiti, what they did to us is they understood that the Arabs had enslaved the whole of North Africa and were enslaving people for 1,200 years. So the European wanted to learn from the Arabs. So today, the oligarchs in Haiti are Arabs. You will never learn that from the mainstream or shamestream media.
The shamestream.
You will never learn that from the shamestream media. So that's it. For me to be sitting here, I promise you, there has been some struggle to get here.
Mm-hmm.
But this is who we are. We fight tyranny from one generation to the other. But they will.
Mm-hmm. I think he's cutting himself. Okay. Oh, yeah. I think we finally would lose her. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, it has all really been, we're 20 minutes into the show, and I think we've learned a lot today. We have heard this kind of incredible history that I keep saying. Sometimes we keep talking about we need to know our history. I'm very grateful that we have great teachers and great voices out there, and that we don't see these pictures like she's saying. Nobody's talking about Èzili Dantò until we created the Pan-African Daily TV. Of course, there are other people that have been, but this kind of education connecting us worldwide to listen to Jean-Jacques Desalin, I mean, and particularly listening to her in the kind of way she's putting it, it's I don't know how I can say it. I hope you have the same feeling that I have here. And even though our queen keep telling us, I know people will not. We on the Pan-African Daily TV are that 20%. We are that 20% that is climbing it up as we know it, and that we are rising, and that we are up, and we're listening. And we are very humbled now to get queens speaking how supportive they were, you know, how they joined to liberate mankind, civilizations, build them. Today, everything is unveiling as we awoke, as our ancestors shake us and give you, each and every one of us that is on this journey. We pray and we thank them. It doesn't matter how short-lived it's going to be, like the queen is saying. I say it all the time. Of course, one day we are gonna transform into something else, be it from the fake lifestyles that we're living or from some other thing that we eradicate. But of course, we know it is their will. Anything that will happen to any of us. So fear is not part of that agenda. If you're already on this movement, if they call you and put you on this track, forget about fear. Forget about the need to leave that kind of an illusion that we're living. Forget about why do we even just still want to leave? Because we keep dreaming about these skyscrapers that she's talking about. Dreaming. I want to own this. And why do we want to own this? Because you think you want to live forever. Nobody wants to invest and do a mortgage for 40 years because he thinks he's going to die in between. You always know you're going to die. You're going to live 120. Of course, we can. But there's no guarantee in this kind of a world, in this kind of a system, where leadership is at questionable, where anything can happen to you, where you cannot even educate and inform yourself. And so we don't invest in that kind of illusions. We invest in people. And the little we can give, the better. And it doesn't matter how long, but the little is more. So I want to thank you. I know we actually have lost her, but it was really like I wished and I prayed that she gave us just this peace. And I think what she gave to us is enough. Believe me, it's enough. Now we need to follow her on EziliDantò.com. It is exactly written as her name, Èzili, Ezili Dantò, Dantò. It's one word.com. It's very easy, whether on Instagram. But I promise you, in as much as we are still here, that we're going to get her again on this teaching. Sign up to our Instagram page. And she does also a lot of conversations online. Like yesterday, she posted a video which caught my attention and really was celebrating this Desalin. This is a fact. And we get comments coming in, and everyone is just saying, this is the truth. This is what we need. Go away from Wakanda. Move out. We are the we people. You cannot be fine when your people are not fine. I can never be fine when you are not fine. Until we get that, the spirit of communism, the spirit of family, of caring for one another. If I'm the one that want to build the skyscrapers and leave every other one in the sludges, you are out of that system. You might be black, you might be born on the continent, but you're just a product of something else. Think about it. We've learned a lot. And the queen is here to conclude and to share with us how we're going to stay strong. If we don't meet again for whatever reason, we are fine. We were here. Queen, you're there. Over to you. You actually have brought us into a 1.5 conversation with you, and we're loving it. And I can guarantee you, nobody even wants to go out on this day. Yes, we're happy to have you back.
Well, thank you so much. Susan, Tata, I appreciate the platform that you've given us. It takes courage to speak to Èzili Dantò. And so thank you so very much. And I hope that your audience have been able to get some of the lessons with regards to Jean-Jacques Desalin, who we think is the greatest hero to ever live.
Yes.
And so thank you for having me. You just let me know. We would be more than happy to come back. I know now to use Chrome to get into Believe. I would have done that before if I knew it was Chrome. So that really honestly worked. So thank you, everybody. Just remember, you come from a line of the most regal people. We are empaths. We feel people's pain. But it seems like those who are ruling this planet don't feel any of our grief, any of our pain. They could put their knees on George Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes. They can come into Haiti, in a country that has never attacked any other country. A group of people that have only wanted to live free and be of service to humanity, and possibly travel the world to see what else and what other cultures are doing. But we have been put into an island since our independence, and most Haitians can't leave unless they are co-opted. And those that do have to, take, when the European puts enough fluid and gasoline to put our country into fire, and Haitians leave on boats, we have situations where the other nations, they ram our boats to drown us directly. You see that's happening even in Greece right now. This is what they're doing to our people. You see, drowning them. So I say to Africans, take a stand where you are, because what's out there really isn't better than what you think it is. Take a stand where you are. This is your land. Make it work for you. And what you are is critically important. People of family, people of integrity, people who fight for others, those who don't have, that's who we are. But they have told you that, you've got to be this Hollywood mulatto kind of looking person, and that's what makes you good. I mean, in the last 5 weeks in America, I have seen so many white women caught. Just look it up. They have been caught acting like they were Black people. And you are running away from what you are. While we have everyone on the planet wants to be you, but they destroy you because they can't do that. And yet you don't want to sit in yourself and say, this is what I am. I am the descendant of Nkrumah. I am the descendant of Patrick Lumumba. I come from the line of Malcolm X and Garvey and Jean-Jacques Desalin. And we will fight until every human who acts like a human is free. Because if you don't act like a human, I call you non-human. I call you beast and psychopath. But if you stand for liberty for all and don't put profit, I mean extreme, Vatican profit over people, then you are human. And that's what we stand for. We will liberate Haiti, and when Haiti is liberated, there are Èzili Dantò, I know, in Angola, in the Congo, we all will rise. There is Susan Tata right here in front of you, another Èzili Dantò. That vibration of warriorship that defends those who can't defend themselves. That's what we do.
Okay, we will take a few questions before we leave. We have 10 minutes. If you have a question, please call and address it, or a comment, and we would be closing the show in 2 minutes, in 10 minutes, sorry. I have a caller on the line. Hello?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My name is Kate Okens. I'm actually calling from Australia.
Okay.
I'd like to play the devil's advocate a little bit. You know, I feel like we Africans just don't get it. I mean, if you have a problem, they always say if there's a problem, if you want to find the solution, find the people that it benefits. Now, let's take the example of Dr. Arikana. It benefits who for her not to be in the position that she's supposed to be in? Well, I actually think that it benefits a lot of the African leaders also, not just the colonial masters, because they are also, there's one thing we need to understand is we're not a democracy. Neither Africa, neither America, we're in a capitalistic society. And until we get that, there is no moving forward. It's like we're trying to fight a war with the people who are fighting with guns, and we want to fight with stones. Now, these people are about two things. They don't respect us because the only way we're going to get respect from these people is if we shed. They respect people it's like a bully. When you have a bully, the only way to stop a bully is to beat him up. There's no other way. Now, they only have two things that they like. They like money, and they like to use that money to go around the world and create problems, using that money and using their power, using war, right? That's how we've always lost. Now, we've won skirmishes, like as the Queen was saying, with Desalin. We won those wars. But what happens after? What happens after is we don't use what the current the capitalistic agenda to move forward. We're always begging, we're always pleading, we're always picketing, but that's not what it's about. War is about capitalistic ideology, and that's the only way I feel like we're going to beat them. Once we beat them and we've created a nation for ourselves, I believe that we will be able to create a greater nation than the nation that we built in the Egyptian days or in the. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, we're hearing. Yes.
Yes, that's really what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thanks. Thank you for your patience as well. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was his contribution from the part that you need iron to strengthen iron. But we're saying we need to, like the Queenie said, we need a mind. A mind. Right now, we're out of our mind. Well, our minds are represented somewhere else. We need to go back to the values of our great leaders, to Desalin. What were his values? What did he fight for until you're human before you can even recognize another human? And I don't know, Queen. Did you hear that a reflection? What is your thought on it?
I think he's right that the Black collaborators, of course, at the African Union would not want someone that the colonist dislikes or someone that might unseat their privileges. So that's true. But we always have to look at those Black collaborators. And that's a very important template of the Haitian Revolution. And I've said already that most of the African Union leaders are neo-colonist. You know, they are there. A lot of time put in to office by the enemies of our people for maintaining their interests, their bourgeois democracy. Mm-hmm. But we all know this, okay? Once we know this, okay, this is what I say to everyone. Then what? So over 200 years ago, our ancestors told us, here is the template. There will be Black collaborators, and you have to marginalize them. You can't put them as your leaders. You have to marginalize them. You can't have all your young want to be Mugabe, or not Mugabe because he was a good one. Kagame or somebody like that, or people who are who are part of neoliberalism, which is another way for capitalism, where they make your country just a bowl where they take out your resources and they privatize all public assets. That's what they're doing in Africa. And then they create AFRICOM and give your young these jobs, and then tell their families, we'll give you an education in America. We'll give the older brother or the younger brother, but you are going to be in the army so that you can destroy your own people on our behalf. But we'll let one of them go into America or Europe to Colombia. That's what they do. They blackmail our people. Once you know all of that, then you have to say to that AFRICOM person that's being trained by our enemies to rape our children and our women, that this is not who you are. This is not who we are. We do not put profit and privilege over people. And so we know what the template is. So how do we get rid of it? First of all, we have to stand in our own strength. You know, Europeans are always coming to me. How can I help you? There's nothing you have that I need. How can I help you become human? That's what, they're not human. I say this to white women all day long. Raise children that won't kill mine. That's what you can do for me. Get the UN out of Africa. Get these weaponized NGOs and their charity out of my face. Go home. Let us heal. We need to heal. Africa needs to heal. Africa needs so much the healers, because we are replicating their psychopathic system. And so I think that's some of the things we have to understand, that we can't replicate their psychopathic system and then say, you know, well, we need capitalism in order to fight capitalism. No, we don't need capitalism to fight capitalism. I need you out of my lands. I need to go back to local farming. I need every African family to be able to feed itself, have security, have clothing, have relevant education, like the education Dr. Susan Tata is telling you. Relevant education. That's what we need. Local domestic economies, and every city, every nook of Africa in Haiti. We can't be dependent. And you have to also understand that you have something to give. So if you go to Australia and you're replicating their system, and you think that the best thing you can do as a diaspora is go back and become a senator in Nigeria and replicate the exact same system, you're not helping. I tell the Haitian diaspora, you know, they think because they have an education from European that they could come in and develop Haiti. But what does development mean for the European? In the Caribbean, the nations that they say are developed are all filled with prostitutes. Dominican Republic right next to us, they make as if is like a big developed country. Their people are running to America because there is nothing for them except to being props, maids, and butlers of Europeans that'll go on vacation. And that's what they want to make you, prop in your own nation. Is that development? Just because you see a big hotel, is that really development? And you're just maids, butlers, and props. And they tell you tourism in the Caribbean. This is what Cuba didn't want. Cuba today is bringing real healing. Their doctors go and do something of consequence. But if the United States had anything to do with it, they would continue to be pimps and prostitutes for the gangsters. And that's what they make us. And they call it development. We have to look at it and say, no. I say no. We don't want that development. I'd rather be in the outback on my community farm and have a ranch and raise my children and being able to use technology like this to have Africans learn languages. You can be in Africa and be participating in the economic space everywhere right now because of remote work.
Yes.
You have to start thinking that way.
Wow. What a gift. What a gift to our continent. What a gift from the ancestors to have daughters, queens, mothers that are educating back their children. It is a gift. When you go back to your bed or at your job site, please pour water on the heads of your ancestors and thank them for this wonderful gift. We are not aggressive people. We are not people that are saying we're going to go by tit for tat. No, we just want our space. We just want to know who we are, go back to the way we were brought up. I was brought up in a village as a village child, and probably that's why I am the way I am today, that I saw nothing important or useful in anything called development that has changed me. It has made me from the better to the worst. Yes. So I want to thank you, Queen. I mean, the Èzili Dantò is a replica, and we should practice it. We should go back to voodoo. We should go back to the spirit that our ancestors connect us. Not some kind of dry spirit where we don't even know. They don't even know our names. They know it. And we keep calling and thinking that they understand. No, they don't. And that's why nothing works. And we keep doing it. We need to go back to what our ancestors went through and replicate the Zinga and the Queen. Thank you so very much, Queen, for telling me. Oh, this is what we're teaching. I'm honored and humbled to hear that, from a Queen mother, from a Queen daughter, from the voices that are willing to just take a bullet in what kind of art for their people, for their children, for their girls. Today, we see slavery still alive in the Lebanons with our girls from Gambia and all the Arab wars, using them, dumping them, throwing them out of their windows in broad daylight in 21st century. We see it every day. And the leaders we call the misleaders, like Professor Pierre Olumumba would say, they're not doing anything. They're just puppets. They're just prophets of them. We need to go back to ourselves and know that we are on our own, but that on our own, we're even more stronger and better. So we thank you so much, Queen, for educating us, for inspiring us, for starting this other week with us. And may the grace and the light and the spirit of your ancestors follow you everywhere you go. They're going to watch over you. Nothing will happen to you except they allow it. And if they do, then it is just their will upon our life. Yes. We thank you so much. We bless you. We're going to follow you up badly. And I can't wait to have a one-on-one on you again here and teaching us about spirituality. But we also want to give a shout out to Professor Bayina Bello. She's the Queen Mother that actually gave us access. And I have another Queen. She's called Amma. Amma is actually the one that fought hard and roared, please get Èzili Dantò. I want to thank her so very much for giving us the connection, putting us through, and also for Professor Bayina, who said, hey, if you get her, she's me. If you talk to her, she's me. If I talk to you, she's the one. We've started knowing Haiti in a very positive way, and I hope that we're going to see it that way. They're never grateful. It is too much being said enough. When our mothers are speaking, yes, then the time is up. The time is up. So I want to thank you, Queen. I want to bless you in everything. We enjoyed you. All our guests are saying they enjoyed you so well. They're grateful. They're thanking you for being here and that we would be back here. We would be back here to celebrate you, celebrate your knowledge, and we have heard. You have not spoken on deaf ears. We have listened, and the impact of your preaching, of your teaching today would be felt. And we hope that you'll be patient and that our ancestors will grant you the grace to continue to tell us these things and all of us on this journey. And you that are watching us today, I want to thank you for your patience. It's 3 hours and 4 into this show. None of you is questioning. No one wants to go. They want to just listen to the Queen. They're thanking you. We're blessing you. We're just grateful to have you. And we want to tell you one thing: we love you so, so much. And that the energy that you're pouring out for us, it was given from above and it's going to stay with you forever. I'm picking this last call because it is already bedtime and I see one queen out there that has been waiting. Hello? Hello?
Hello, yes. I just want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
I just want to ask Queen Èzili Dantò a question like, what's happening in America? All this, the killing, the shooting that has been going on. Don't you think it's the ancestors? Because I believe when the ancestors were being enslaved in those days, they hoped one day they will go back on the ships and go back to Africa. Until unfortunately, they all died. But I believe they must have told those who were there to say, no matter what happens, one day when you're free, go back home. Now they've never gone. I've been to most of the time to New York and I've read about where they always prevent. There's a lot of, most of them, they are confused. They explain a lot of them, they don't want even to accept they're Africans. Hence, that's what is happening now in America. All these, the shootings and that. So Queen Èzili Dantò, I just want to ask, don't you think it's the ancestors, those who died in those days, that there is their spirit trying to drag the children out to say it's time you have to go home, but they don't want to accept it. I don't know what you have to say about that, Queen Èzili Dantò.
Yeah, I have something very definite to say about that. Those were not my ancestors. My ancestors would never want any pain to any Black children at all. My ancestors want us to be the best that we can be, the greatest of beauty that we can be. Those people who are hurting my children in America are not godly. They definitely are not my ancestors. And if they are, when I'm on that other plane, I'm bringing my sword because those are not mine. What are ours? I think there is something happening in the world right now. 2020 is a shattering of white supremacy, a shattering. And what they're looking to, their empires are shattering. So they're giving you all sorts of distractions because they control the media. They won't show you Black people shooting police, but they will show you police shooting Black people because it's a psychological warfare. And they will do it over and over and over again to make you feel so helpless, so frustrated. And you think that what you're thinking, that somehow it's the ancestors that want us to go back to Africa. I just told you, we are original of the planet Earth. Where I step, wherever I step is mine. Wherever I step, there was an African there before Chichiyui and Mundele got there. And if that's where I want to be, my ancestors are buried there. We are the people of the sun, original to planet Earth. There is no place we go that we weren't there first. Now, Africa is a very special space, of course, but we own the planet. And I want to see Black folks in Africa, in America, stop getting killed, stop getting murdered. I want to see Black folks everywhere create our own communities. We can, right where we stand. There's recently I saw a group of Georgians, Black folks in Georgia. They bought land and they're all going to keep their own gated community away from these psychopaths. You can do that. I don't think that there's only one answer. If a Black person wants to stand and fight in the United States because they have bled for that space, and their ancestors were there way before Chichiyui got there, then they should. We own the planet. What we're saying is that, of course, we all want to see Africa liberated and Haiti liberated. But no, I reject any idea that says it's the ancestors wanting us to go back to Africa, and that's why we see all these Africans dying in America. Hell to the no. That's not my ancestors. Let it be known. And if it was, just like I said when I saw that Black Panther movie, if those were my ancestors, I would have taken my sword in the afterlife and cut off all their heads. No, that's not your ancestors. Your ancestors want you to enjoy this life and the abundance that they have put in there. Do you know that wherever the European digs, he finds a Black person, even in France, even in Germany, wherever he digs in the planet. So I know, I all of it is mine. All the children with melanin that are being destroyed, those are mine. And I say, stand up and fight. Be the ancestors that you are, from wherever you stand. And if you, I mean, it is very difficult to live within the system of white supremacy. So it would be great to go to a place. You know, I come from a place where it was all Black people. So they were a shock to my system. So I know what that means. I thrive more when I'm next to people that are like me, which is why I don't have any problem with white people wanting to be with white people. I understand it. I love Black people. I just want to be with us. So I understand what they want. I just don't want them to be shooting me and killing me when they think that, you know, I've somehow come into their neighborhoods. Because when they come to Africa, they call themselves expatriates. When I come to their place, they call me immigrant. We got to change those things. I'm telling you, all young Black women, the world is yours. Go do what you need to do. What comes on from your inside. If you're in the United States, do what's necessary. If you're in Africa, create a space where, like Desalin wanted to create, where all Africans can come to and be free. But don't be depending on the diaspora to save you. I say that to the Haitians too. Don't be depending on anybody to save you. Save yourself, because anyone, no matter what revolutionary or how revolutionary that person is, if they save you, they own you. Come on.
Correct.
Save yourself.
Absolutely, 150%. I'm for it. Doesn't matter.
I am nobody's savior. I'm trying to save myself.
No, I agree with you, Queen. I keep saying it. Yes. I just like all the comments and Kofi is saying more marriages between African and the diaspora. Yes, to promote the Black family, more marriages, intermarriages between us, build our community, stay alive, and just enjoy. I also agree to that comment. I don't think if our ancestors who want us go back, they would have to make them kill us. No. So that's not our ancestors. They will want to protect us, and even if they want us to go back, they would have the powers to make us go back differently. That's just another kind of a spirit. They would never allow even a hair to drop down of their queens and daughters. No, that's not the spirit. Anyway, yes, thank you so much for that contribution, and yes, we need that. And your laughter, Queen, was just so contaminating. You see in the comments as they keep dropping, like, keep laughing. I mean, we know it's hard. The battle is there, out there, but one thing that you're teaching us and that you've taught us is not just only the fight. The fight is we need to fight to love even ourselves, to own our space, to live freely, to live happy ever. That's our nature. That's what we are just brought to do. So I want to thank you so much. It was a wonderful show. We don't want to leave, but we must leave. Everyone has to leave, and we will see ourselves some other time. So thank you very much, Queen. Good night, and stay safe wherever you are. We're gonna get in touch with you. We will sign up to follow up more of your teachings, but of course, we would like to have you again here with us anytime very soon. So good night.
Maximum respect to everybody, all your audience. Thank you very much, sister. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.